This is your pelvis, and this is your pelvic floor. There's a big hole here. There's a group of muscles called your pelvic floor diaphragm that are responsible for keeping everything on the inside. If you're suffering from incontinence or prolapse, if you have premature ejaculation, sexual dysfunction, maybe you laugh and you accidentally pee yourself, or you're struggling with your posture, your pelvic floor strength is really important. Down here at the base of your pelvis are a group of skeletal muscles that are similar to your biceps or your hamstrings, meaning just like your biceps, you can train these muscles for strength and flexibility and coordination. But unlike your biceps, which if they're untrained, probably won't affect the quality of your life much, your pelvic floor muscles, because they affect your life in the bathroom and your life in the bedroom, two things we rarely talk about in public but are so important, you probably don't want to leave this region untrained. And yet most of us don't really know where our pelvic floor is, and we certainly don't know how to strengthen or coordinate it. If you can relate, this video is for you. Maybe you've just given birth. Maybe you're in the second half of life. Maybe you went on a trampoline recently and realized that you're unable to hold in your pee. There's all kinds of reasons why people come to pelvic floor work. Whatever your reason, welcome. Here's what we'll cover. Number one, we'll take a look at the anatomy of the pelvic floor, the major reference points, specifically in terms of muscles. Number two, we'll talk about the inverse relationship between your breathing diaphragm and your pelvic floor diaphragm. They work together in a very interesting way. Lastly, we'll work on a pelvic floor squat walk, which is a new form of pelvic floor work exercise you probably haven't done before. I find it really, really effective. My name's Lucas, by the way. I'm a yoga teacher. If you're new here, I always put a PDF link down below in the description so you can download all of the exercises and references that we cover in the video. Before we get started, I have two asks of you. The first one is, if you hit subscribe down below, doesn't cost you anything, but it's a great way for you to support the channel. My second ask is actually a question. Down below in the comments, my question for you is, have you ever done pelvic floor work before, like Kegels or hypopressives? Maybe you studied Mula Bandha in yoga, or you've done any other pelvic floor rehab work. Share your experience down below. I'd love to hear from you, but even more so, other people watching the video can learn from your experiences. Okay, let's get into the anatomy of our pelvic floor. There are actually 11 different muscles. Some of them are very tiny, and we'll focus on 4 of the major landmarks in terms of the muscles down here in this diaphragm. Think of the pelvic floor diaphragm like a net, or a balloon base of muscles down here at the bottom of your pelvis. And the first group of 3 muscles are called your levator ani muscles. And then the fourth major muscle of your pelvic floor diaphragm is called your coccygeus muscle. All of that is fine looking here and looking here at an illustration, but why don't we try to feel it? Close your eyes, and I would like you to imagine that you're stopping the flow of urine and stopping defecation. What I mean by that is squeeze your anus, basically. Inhale completely, exhale everything out. Now hold your breath, stop the flow of urine, squeeze your anus and hold. 3, 2, 1, relax, release, and breathe normally. Let's try that one more time. Let's inhale, exhale everything out, hold your breath, stop the flow of urine, squeeze your anus, lift everything up, engage those pelvic floor muscles. 3, 2, 1, relax, release, and breathe normally. Hopefully now you at least have a bit of a proprioceptive awareness down in that region of the body, and you get an idea about what we're talking about. There are practices in yoga, for example, where we might try to isolate specific muscles or pairs of muscles, but I would encourage you, at least for right now, just to focus on engaging and lifting your entire pelvic floor diaphragm. It's a lot more accessible, a lot less tedious, and you'll make progress pretty quickly. So rather than thinking about each of those 11 muscles individually, let's just squeeze and grab and lift everything. When we did this exercise just a moment ago, you might have noticed I had you hold your breath at the bottom of the exhale. The reason I did that is because your breathing diaphragm has a very interesting relationship with your pelvic floor diaphragm. Your breathing diaphragm is way up high here underneath your ribs, and it separates your upper thoracic from your abdominal cavity. It's just one muscle, unlike the 11 down here at the bottom. But when your breathing diaphragm contracts, that's when you inhale. And when that muscle contracts down, it literally squishes everything in your abdomen down towards the pelvic floor. So there's a natural tendency to relax your pelvic floor when you inhale, and conversely, when your diaphragm relaxes back up to its dome shape, your pelvic floor diaphragm is able to squeeze a lot more comfortably. What this means for you is when you're doing pelvic floor work down here, when you practice on the exhale, especially when you hold your breath on the exhale, you'll feel so much more coordination and so much more strength. It's the best way to practice. Okay, now let's take a look at the pelvic floor squat walk. This is a very simple practice. There's just a couple things you need to keep in mind. Just like before, when we're engaging our pelvic floor, think of stopping the flow of urine, stopping defecation, basically squeeze and lift everything. Second thing is we do it on the empty breath, so on the out breath, and we hold our breath. So we'll do just a few steps and then we'll sit down again. But one more trick that can be really helpful is I'd like you to tilt your pelvis backwards by tucking your tailbone under. So when we're doing our squat walks, you'll look a little bit like a cave monster. That's the idea. Your knees stay bent, your tailbone tucked under, so we get a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt, and I squeeze and lift everything. I know that might look a little weird, but let's switch over to a practice. I'll do it along with you. Here we go. Pelvic floor squat walks. From a seated position, step your feet wider than your hips. Remember, the entire practice we'll do with our breath held, so let's inhale completely. Exhale through your mouth, all the air out. Hold your breath, stand halfway up, tuck your tailbone, lift your pelvic floor, and squat walk. 1, 2, 3, squat back. 3, 2, 1, sit down, relax, and breathe. Good. Remember, when you squat walk, your knees should stay bent, your tailbone should stay tucked, and consciously, with no breath in, so you're at the bottom of the exhale, lift your pelvic floor. Think about stopping the flow of urine and defecation at the same time. Second round, inhale through your nose, exhale everything out through your mouth. Stand halfway up, tuck your tailbone, hold your breath, engage your pelvic floor, and squat walk. 1, 2, 3, squat back. 3, 2, 1. Sit down, relax, and breathe normally. Third round, inhale through your nose, exhale everything out. Stand all the way up, knees bent, tuck your tailbone, engage your pelvic floor. Squat walk. 1, 2, 3, squat back. 3, 2, 1. Sit down, relax, and breathe. Round 4. Inhale through your nose. Exhale everything out. Stand up, knees bent, tuck your tailbone, engage your pelvic floor, squat walk. 1, 2, 3, squat back. 3, 2, 1. Sit down, relax, and let it go. Final round, pelvic floor squat walk. Here we go. Inhale through your nose. Exhale everything out. Hold your breath, stand up, tuck your tailbone, knees are bent, squat walk. 1, 2, 3, squat back. 3, 2, 1. Sit down, relax, and breathe normally. My challenge to you is 5 pelvic floor squat walks every day for 30 days and see how it works. Hopefully you'll feel some results in the bathroom, maybe even in the bedroom. Let's see how it works for you. And please leave a comment and let us know. By the way, I have a program called YOGABODY Daily designed to help you live your best life in the second half with daily strength and stretching and steps practices. We've got a couple thousand people just like you all around the world who join me every day. If you're interested, go to yogabody.com. You'll see the information right there on the homepage. Be sure to grab that PDF I mentioned earlier in the description down below. Hit subscribe so you can get the next video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.